Let's talk about La Signora. Signora's real name is Rosalind Kruskaloff-Folter. This name is mentioned in books over 500 years ago, in Munstadt. Her name means beautiful rose, and her surname Flaming Butterfly, which we see in the last fight with her. Not much is known about her past life, but bit by bit you can collect some parts of her life. So, it can definitely be argued that Rosalind, if she was not a singer, then loved to sing and performed on the square in Munstadt. A similar statement is mentioned in the description of several things from the game, namely Elegy for the End, and artifacts of the set Defender's Will. Rosalind was a magician of the elements of fire, and shortly before her departure for training, namely in Sumayu, at the academy located on its territory, which was considered an extremely prestigious institution, she met a guy named Rostam, who was the defender of Munstadt. Warm, amorous feelings began between the two, but they were destined to part, for a while, at least they thought so. Before leaving for Sumayu, Rosalind received a hydraulic watch from her lover to help her accurately track her time at the academy. This was done so that many who go there to study, in the process of learning, lose all connection with the real flow of time and often finish their studies only in old age, having spent their whole life on it. So, the witch, which after will become the fear of many, went to study, hoping afterwards to return and meet again with her beloved, but this was not destined to become. Years passed before the clock signaled Rosalind that it was time for her to return to Munstadt. Having set off on the road, she was full of joy, looking forward to a quick meeting with her beloved, but instead of a warm reunion, mourning and cold awaited her. The city was destroyed by monsters after the fall of Kinria, and her beloved Rostam died trying to protect him. There are legends that Rosalind mourned her beloved for a long time, but one way or another, later this resulted in the fact that the girl decided to abandon her mortal body and absorb the liquid flame, the recipe for which was lost forever after. Most likely, this caused her those burns, faces, which she would later hide under a mask. Becoming the one known as the Crimson Witch of Flames, Rosalind dedicated herself to hunting monsters as an act of revenge for the death of her beloved. And although she only killed monsters, how cruelly she did it, and her appearance became an object of fear among ordinary residents. How long this lasted is not clear. However, after Pierrot, number 1 of Fatoué, invited her to join their ranks. Exactly how it happened, however, in my opinion, someone known as Or, number 7 of Fatoué, may have played a key role. He also studied at the Sumayu Academy, and it was probably from there that he could have known and advised Pierrot to find Rosalind. This is also hinted at by the fact that Signora is the 8th of Fatoué, that is, she joined the ranks immediately after Or. Also, one can only assume what could become the motivator of her entry, namely the redirection of her anger, her revenge from the consequences to the perpetrators. Most likely, the Tsaritsa proposed to Rosalind to overthrow Celestia, which is guilty of the events of 500 years ago, because of which Munstadt was destroyed. Perhaps she was offered some form of resurrection of her beloved, although there is no indication of this in the character of the La Signora. This is how La Signora, the 8th of Fatoué, appeared. Like everyone else, she was given an illusion. In her case, this illusion became a cryo illusion, which suppressed the fiery direction of Rosalind's forces. She chose a new name to match her new image, although it is possible that the image became the source of the name. So, La Signora is a character in Commedia dell'arte. She is tough, beautiful and calculating, and wears very wide dresses along with very heavy makeup. Such a description fits well with how Signora appears to us in the game. The player meets her for the first time in the incident with Venti, in which Signora brutally takes the Archon's Gnosis, after his words regarding her and the Tsaritsa. Such cruelty is noted only against Venti, most likely due to the fact that she considers him partly to blame for the events of 500 years ago, or because he was unable to protect his city of Mondstadt from monsters. One way or another, the sweet and kind singer Rosalind becomes a cruel and narcissistic person who helps the Tsaritsa in her hunt for Gnosis. In dealing with Zhongli, Signora herself was much more restrained and corresponded to her status as a diplomat, since Zhongli himself voluntarily agreed to give up Gnosis by agreement with the Tsaritsa. The last time we met Signora was at Tenshukaku. There, after a battle with the main character and defeat, according to the law of duels, the Signora is executed by Raiden's shogun and turned into ashes. Outcomes, undoubtedly, we do not know yet a huge part of her life, but I am absolutely 100% sure that we will learn much of Rosalind's life also in Sumayu, or even there we will find her alive, who created her clone that had previously gone to Mondstadt, and conducting research within the walls of the new academy, or on the ruins of the old one. It is also possible that the Signora has the Adeptus elements. He can hide in her eye, which is hidden from everyone. It is possible to take the liquid flame into itself and meant to inlay the Adeptus elements into the eye socket, which caused her face burns. Much remains in question, but the only thing that undoubtedly remains is that the Signora's fate is quite tragic and full of anger. With an interesting design, despite her character, she was interesting to me. I hope that she will appear again, but if not, then rest in peace, La Signora, the 8th of Fatue. And rest in peace Rosalind, now you are reunited with your loved one in another world. That's all. Thanks for watching. I will be very glad to receive your subscriptions, likes and if you recommend this video to others. Until next time.